this business track. My name is Linda from Federalist, and now we have a first speaker from, her name is Shari, but everyone used to call her Shortcut Shari. Maybe you can briefly tell us why.
Okay. That's great. Yeah. I've been training for about 20 years, and I love keyboard shortcuts because they save me a lot of time, and I'm not switching from the keyboard to the mouse. And I'm like, the shortcut for this, and she goes, well, aren't you just Shortcut Shari? And the salesperson happened to be in the room, and it just kind of became an office joke, and eventually I embraced it. So now it's a thing. And people remember it, so I think it worked.
That's great. So we will remember you today. So to start for today, the topic is managing small projects in Office 365. So let's welcome Shari.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to present to you today. And I wish I could join you in person. I really miss the traveling and being able to go to events in person. But, the virtual, it's helpful. We still can get our projects out and help people, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult to get to know you and what's exciting for you as well. So hopefully you enjoy today. We're going to be talking about managing small projects in Microsoft 365. I think the title of the session was Office 365, but of course Microsoft has rebranded that to be Microsoft 365. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'll leave this slide up here for a second. This is usually where I tell my little story, but I am Shari Oswald. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, a Microsoft Office Specialist Master, and of course they call me Shortcut Shari. So that's how you find me in social media and on LinkedIn, Facebook. I also have a blog at shortcutshari.com, and I'm a Customer Immersion Experience Facilitator, if you know what that is. They're Microsoft marketing events. So I've been doing them for them. But I also have some courses on LinkedIn Learning. If you are a LinkedIn Learning person or not LinkedIn Learning, I have a bit.ly there if you want to jot that down. You can, and that is case sensitive, so you'll have to type it in exactly that way. I have 4 courses on SharePoint, and they're a little bit more in depth and more technical than just like what is SharePoint. So feel free to check that out. Happy to have you visit me there. Okay, so today we are going to talk about managing small projects in Office 365. And I always think it's really important to understand Office 365 or Microsoft 365 and what all is included in that. And I love this infographic from Matt Wade. If you're not familiar with Matt, he is well known in the collaboration space. He's been working for a very long time. And he creates these amazing infographics, and he's a Teams guru. So if you want to, you could jot down, it's Jump2365 is his website and his blog. But what we're going to concentrate today is in this task management tier of Office 365. We have to-do, we have tasks, we have planner, and we have Microsoft Teams tasks as well. So kind of putting those all together in the mix with all of these other awesome tools that Office 365 offers us. So when you're managing small projects, you need to, sometimes it's just for you, sometimes it's for you and a few people or a larger group, or sometimes they're more formal projects. But we're not talking about enterprise projects today. So the 4 types of projects that I think I simply identify are personal projects, things that just I'm going to take care of. Though these are my things that I need to get done that are more than just a task. It's a series or a collection of tasks that get from A to B and get something done. We have peer or coworker projects where I need to collaborate with one person or a few people. There are team projects which involve a lot more, and they're usually more structured. And then there's enterprise projects. And we're not going to be talking about enterprise projects today. A, there's not enough time. And B, I could cover 2 days on just the enterprise project. So we're not going to be talking about those. We're going to focus on these personal, peer, and team projects today. All right, so personal projects, what are we talking about there? These are when you've got a series of tasks that you need to get done. And maybe you're developing some marketing materials, or maybe you have a client proposal that you need to put together. It's just me, it's informal. And where do we manage those? So let's talk about the tools that are available for us there. I have a demo environment, and this demo environment is based on Contoso. If you're familiar with that, it is a fictitious Microsoft company, and I have a subscription to Office 365. And by logging in at office.com, I'm really amazed when I work with my clients how many people don't know they can just go to office.com and log in. Usually because somebody dropped a Teams icon on their desktop and they think that's all there is to it, especially in the last year, a year and a half or so. But if you go to the bottom here in the lower left, you're going to see the All Apps button. And here's where we see all of these applications that we just saw in that infographic. What I like about this view, you see them all and what's available to you in your organization, because some organizations will turn things off, like Kaizala is something that you're not going to see. In the US, Yammer will never be in a government environment ever. It doesn't meet the criteria that's needed. So you may see more or less in your environment than you see in mine, but that's because I have a demo environment that's fully baked and has everything in it. And the applications that we want to use, we can access from here. All right. So the first one I'm going to talk about for managing your own tasks. So if you have quick projects or things you need to do, is To Do. If you haven't used To Do, I love To Do because it's also on my phone. I can access my task list from my phone, and I can create little task lists here. So if I have a new project that I need to get, like a proposal or something, I might create a new list. Like this could be client proposals. And then I'm going to add the task. So maybe I need to gather requirements. And then I need to create the first draft. So again, this is just for me to work on. One thing that I, not necessarily my favorite thing about this, there's really no structure to it. So it's not meant to be a task or a project management tool. These are just my reminders that allow me to remember to get some things done. And I can create multiple lists. So if I have maybe, instead of having a generic client proposal, maybe I have one for the ABC company proposal, and then I have another one for the XYZ company proposal. So I can have as many lists as I like. Now, where I like this is one of my favorite things, is in Outlook. You have tasks, and I tend to still be Outlook-centric because I work primarily with external people. I'm a consultant. So I'm going to go to the tasks here. And when you add content to To-Do, it also adds in your task list, to your to-do list, a corresponding list. So even though those things are being created by me in To-Do, because of the integration in Office 365, I also have tasks here. So this is great because I spend a lot of time in my To-Do in Outlook. To-Do I have on my phone, so I can add the task to my phone. It's handy, it's helpful, but usually when I'm actually working on the tasks, I'm working in Outlook, and that depends on how you work. Alrighty. Now, the other thing when you're in Outlook, and on my blog, I actually have a whole series of managing your inbox, and here's some of the tips from those. If you're not utilizing the categories and the flags in Outlook, you're really missing a lot of organizational capability. The hard part about Outlook is everything that everybody's communicating to you about comes into one place, and then we have to organize it. So let's say over here, I have a new project that I'm working on. I might want to create a folder. So I'm going to add a new folder. And let's say this is for ABC Enterprises. And then every time I get an email about that topic or about that project, maybe I drag and drop those into that email. So that's one way to kind of segregate the messages and put them all together in one place that would allow me to get have one pane of glass to look at the emails that are coming in. What most people don't realize is that this is the best kept secret of Outlook. If I have an email that I need to create a task from, the best kept secret of email or of Outlook is to take an email and drag and drop it into another folder. So if I drag and drop it into the calendar, it's going to create an appointment. If I drag and drop it to contacts, it's going to create a contact and then leave the body of the email in the contact. I use this all the time. This is huge for me because of networking. And when I used to work the Microsoft events all the time, that was huge for me. But same thing, if I drag and drop it and make it a task, it converts it to a task. And let's say I need to do I'm going to change the title now of create a proposal. Now, several things I can do here using my categories. Maybe instead of creating a folder, I might want to categorize this as use this category as the ABC Enterprises and assign that to that project. And then I'm going to, okay, why are we being cranky? It's trying. Demo environments are a blessing and a curse, are they not? Okay, let's see if it does its thing here. I may have to restart Outlook here. Let's end that one. And we'll try that again. All right, so here's the email. I'm going to add the category to it of, oh, it didn't keep the category. Let's just imagine, there we go. That looks better. And I'm going to give it a follow-up flag of this week. So when you add a flag to a message in Outlook, it also, let me just show you in the to-do list. You see how it says sales and marketing? In your tasks and the to-do list, you also get a task list. So when you use the follow-up flags, it basically lines up what I need to get done the next day, the next week, today or tomorrow. And what I love about this is Outlook understands when tomorrow becomes today or next week becomes this week, and it automatically moves it into that bucket. So this is how I manage my tasks if I'm working in Outlook. I may create a folder, or I may just create a category for a specific project and then flag it with a follow-up list. Now, one other thing that's amazing from the tasks is you can actually assign it to someone else. So I'm just going to expand the ribbon here. This is, oh, that's the message from the task itself. So here's my task. You can assign it to another person. So I don't really need to collaborate. I want to delegate this out, assign the task to someone else. So I'm going to assign this to Miriam. There she is. And see, it says, keep an updated copy of this task on my task list and send me a status report when the task is complete. It's now in her hands. The only thing I can do is look at her progress. So if she updates it to in progress or puts a higher priority or percentage complete, I will see that reflected in my task list as well. But she's the one in charge of it from that point. And it's going to warn me that when I send it off to her. And so it's like, yes. Right, so I'm going to assign that to Miriam, and it's going to stay in my task list. When you are working in your Outlook, you have different views that most people ignore. So under your views, if I want to see what's assigned, here's the things that are assigned to somebody else and who it's assigned to. If I want to see the ones by a specific category, like here's my to-do list, right? But let's say I want the ones that are all together in one project, I might change the view here to by categories, and then I would see all the tasks that are assigned to the category. So again, using To-Do and Outlook, they work together to kind of manage your own small personal projects. All right. Any questions on that? Feel free to put them in the chat. The moderator should be there looking at them, but I'll try and pay attention as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them there. All right, our next one is peer projects. So these are usually informal. They're one to few, and they utilize chat groups. So I'm going to show you a combination of Outlook, lists, OneDrive, and Teams, and how to manage those projects with your peers. Again, these are informal, one to few, and they utilize the chat feature of Teams. So going back to my environment, let's say I have a new project and I need to involve a few more people on that. You can see in my Teams, I have a formal project. And one of the things that you need to understand is when you create a team, or many of the other things, let me just glance back at this other slide deck real quick. This again is one of Matt's infographics. When you create any of these elements right here, it actually creates an Office 365 group, which is the foundation of Microsoft Teams, by the way. So if I create a planner plan, it creates an Office 365 group that doesn't necessarily have a team attached to it. If I create a stream video portal, it creates an Office 365 group. So when I'm talking about collaborating with people in our peer groups, one of the things that you need to be aware of is if you create a planner board, you actually created all of this stuff too. If you create a SharePoint site, you created all of this stuff too. If you create a Forms workspace, you created all of this stuff too. So you need to be aware that Planner can really cause, that's the big one that everybody wants to use for themselves to manage their stuff or with another person. And just be aware that you're creating a whole bunch, like an entire SharePoint site where all the files can go that are tied to that plan as well. All right, so when I go out to Teams, let's say I want to manage a project with a group of people, and I'm going to create a new chat. So this is a chat group. So I'm going to create a new chat. Let's say I want to talk. This is with Miriam and Diego and Patty. Just the three of us have a quick little project that we need to knock out that doesn't need to involve a whole bunch of people. So I'm going to go in here and type in good morning. Some activity there now. Notice after I have an activity, there's a little pencil that shows up next to the names. So I'm going to rename this and call it, this is going to be the XYZ proposal. We're just knocking out a proposal. We need to collaborate together and work on that. All right. To do that, we could have our conversations here. This is really, this is where we're going to have our conversations. Instead of emails back and forth, we're going to centralize any of the conversation around this proposal here. On the files, if I need to share a file with them, notice my options here are for upload from my computer or from OneDrive. So if I choose OneDrive and I want to, let's say this is part of that proposal, I have just shared a file from my OneDrive. Now Miriam might share a couple of files, and Diego might share a couple of files. What you need to understand is when you are sharing in chat, chat equals OneDrive. And each person that shares that, it does not create a central place where all those files go. All of those files are shared. If Diego shares it, it lives in his OneDrive. If Miriam shares it, it is in her OneDrive. If I share it, it is in my OneDrive. So it never creates a central place for those files to live. And then you can see it says sent by Megan Bowen, right? So if Miriam were to add one here, then it would say sent by Miriam. Now, what if, at any point I could leave this chat, Miriam could leave this chat, other people can leave the chat. The files and the access to the files, you still have access in their OneDrive until they revoke them in OneDrive. So if I go out to OneDrive, and I'll share that with you here. So we're going to go out to OneDrive. And I'm going to and I find that sales invoice template and click the shared link, here is the link that was created when I shared that file that gave the link to anyone in that group. So anyone joins, anybody leaves, they're going to have that link. If I don't want them in there anymore, when you're in a chat group, you cannot delete, remove, change the permissions here. But you can go in here and stop sharing, and people would not be able to see that file. They'll still see it, but then when they try to access it, it'll say you no longer have permission to see that file. So that is a big area of confusion for most people. They don't understand that OneDrive, when you share in chat, those files live in OneDrive. They don't live, it doesn't create a central repository. Now, if we want to add to that, we want to track the tasks, I'm just going to click the plus sign here. Here are the other tools that are available in Office 365 that we can leverage to track our content. So if I want to create a OneNote notebook where we keep track of our progress or our notes, I'm going to create a new one called the XYZ proposal and click Save. Okay, we now have access to this notebook. Again, where does this file live? It lives in my OneDrive. Okay. Another tool that you can use to track the tasks. So if you want to track the tasks for this project, you might want to go out in Office 365 and create a list. Microsoft has had lists in SharePoint for 20 years, and it's probably one of the most underused tools. Everybody's like, woohoo, Microsoft lists. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world. They've been in SharePoint for 20 years, and you didn't listen to me then. So if you haven't used Microsoft lists, you can walk through the little wizard here, and it'll introduce you to it. And if I create a new one, maybe this is a work progress tracker. I'm going to use this. I get a preview of the template. I can kind of take a peek at the other ones and then pick which one you want and then click Use Template. And let's say this is for the XYZ proposal. Here's my options to save it and share it. My lists is in my storage, is in my OneDrive storage, even though it doesn't look like it. It's going to create a list there. Otherwise, it's going to prompt me to put it in one of the teams that I would be a part of. So by creating a list like this, I can create it. We can now add all of our tasks to this, but I'm going to have to share this with Miriam and Diego and Patty. So they'll now have access to this list and we can track our progress on our tasks. So again, a quick thing, it's in my storage. It's not meant to live forever. This is not like an enterprise project. Here's the little trick though. If you copy the website address of the list and then go back to Teams, one of the tabs that I can add here is a website. Notice that lists is not one of the options that I can add. But if you choose website and put in the task list as the title, paste the URL from the list, that's kind of the backwards hack to bring that task list into the team or into the little group chat. And hopefully that will resolve itself. Again, demos are not always my friend. We'll see if it works. All right, anyway, so adding the tools that if you need a whiteboard to work on something, to draw things out, the desktop version of Whiteboard has some really awesome like SWOT analysis templates, things like that you could utilize. So feel free to use that. So those are peer projects, things that I need to work on with other people. Again, we're all leveraging our own resources as far as OneDrive and task lists and creating the OneNote notebook, which is also in my OneDrive, helps us to centralize and have that communication. The files live in OneDrive. All right. Any questions so far? or comments?
There is no questions so far.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's look at our next tier, which is team projects. Team projects are a little more formal, and again, it could be 1 or 3 or 5, but this is my philosophy with Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams should not be used as a long-term storage. It should, in my opinion, should be work in progress. I'm developing a course right now on that takes it kind of beyond what goes where. And this is part of information architecture. And what I see all the time are people that create a project for like a Microsoft team for their entire organization. That's not useful because the activity that's generated from the entire organization is overwhelming and people can't opt out of it. So when you're creating team projects, you're going to be leveraging several of the tools that are in Office 365, and we are going to start that in Microsoft Teams. So if I had a new project, I might have one that's already existing, like this Mark 8 project team. We have general, design, digital assets. So these are our channels. And here is my recommendation to my clients when they're creating their teams. We call it the who, the what, and the how. So the team itself is who needs to work together. The channels are the what are they working on, or what are the areas of focus. And then once you're in a channel, you have a series of tabs across the top, and that's how you're going to get that work done. So the team is the who, the channels are the what, and the tabs across the top are the how. Now, the big spoiler alert on this is Teams. Nothing actually lives in Teams. I'll say that again. Nothing actually lives in Teams. Teams is the platform that brings all those tools we saw in Office 365 into one place to make them easier to access. So I could go out, let's say I have a planner board that I want to create to manage our social media. So I'm going to create a new channel on here. So I'm going to add a channel for social media. And then click add. And now this is what we're working on, right? Here's the conversations. It's like, you know, what is, maybe I'm asking, does anyone have the images for the social media campaign? I'm going to ask them, and if I want to actually draw attention to it, I probably should have used an @ mention to get their attention. So I'm asking them a question. We have a conversation about it here, all right? When we find those files, we're going to upload them into the File tab. So I'm going to upload, let's say I have some files. I don't know if any of these have pictures, but all right, so let's say I'm going to upload the files that we need here. So I'm going to, anything we're going to collaborate on, I'm going to add to the File tab. Okay. Now I need a planner board. So I could create a planner board from here. And why is, oh, task by planner and to do. And maybe I'm going to use the content scheduler. So I'm going to say content schedule. And click save. Oh, well, I didn't ask me what template to use. Oh, it's planner. Okay, so planner, this one's going to be, we're going to do, let's say this is for LinkedIn, and this one's for Facebook, and this one's for Instagram. All right. So I'm creating the channel. So if you haven't used Planner before, these are called buckets. The buckets can be arranged in many different ways. For this one, the buckets, I created them by what social media platform. But if I were to go into general and show you, let's see. Where'd they put it? Oh, it's in the go-to-market plan. They have a planner board. Oh, this one. There we go. So their focus is in creating this go-to-market plan is engineering, manufacturing, and launch. Right. So this is their, the different departments or whatever that are working on different things. Then what I love about Planner is you can actually drag and drop those items from one bucket to another to reassign them. Or you can change the view of this. So if I say group by assigned to and realize that, Adele doesn't have very much, Megan may be overloaded, simply by dragging and dropping them from one person to another, it changes the assignment. If you go to progress and say, all right, this one's been completed, these ones are in progress, and so I can group it by progress. If I change it to due date, the due date's a little bit weird. This one's late because it was due in the past. This one's are due in the future. The buckets come from the assignment. So if I were to make this due, let's say tomorrow instead, I'm now going to have a tomorrow bucket. If I take this one and change the date to next week, then I'm going to have a next week bucket. So the buckets are determined. Now I can drag and drop some of these other ones. It's like we're going to do this one next week. So until you have something in that assignment category, it doesn't really create your buckets. The labels are another way to, it's kind of a secondary sort, and the labels, multiple labels can be assigned to the same task, where the task can only be in one bucket at a time. You can have the labels. So some people use labels, like I might use buckets and vice versa. And this one has no label. It's like, oh no, this one should be this one. Now there are 25 colors on the labels. If I want to add another one, you'll see they're here. And you can customize what those labels are. It doesn't have to be label 5. This could be prototypes or something. So you have 25 colors now, and you can change those. The tasks, you have a lot of detail here. There are checklists. So the checklists are in here. Now, for me, one of the reasons I don't necessarily like Planner is because I do all my stuff out of my to-do list. So I have to make a concerted effort to go into Planner to update them and remember to do that. The good thing about it is that when things are assigned to me, I get notifications and Planner nags you. You have tasks due this week. You have tasks due today. You have tasks due yesterday. They're overdue. So it does remind you, so you can't ever really forget about it. But unless it's assigned to you, you will not see those. So if you're like the kind of managing or overseeing the project, everything has to be assigned to you and you get notifications for everything. So however you want to manage that. Now, what's different in Teams, and this is one of the things I absolutely love, is that it has a list view. And if you select the little circle, this is kind of counterintuitive. Selecting the circle on the left doesn't select the task like it does in SharePoint or other areas. What it does is it marks it complete. But if I want to update multiple tasks, instead of, let's say I have 20 tasks that are all due and we had a delay, I don't want to have to go into each one and update them all. In this view, you can use the multi-select, the shift. So I'm using the shift or control key to select multiple items. So this is control, lets me kind of cherry pick what I want. And I can change the due date, the priority, the assignment, the progress, the bucket, the label, all right from here. So if I wanted to make these all due by 10/31 and click save, that's a whole lot faster. Now, Planner out in the web doesn't have this view. I don't know why. This is like the best thing since sliced bread as far as I'm concerned. I would create a team to put a planner in just so I can use this view personally, but that's just me. So you have board view, you have chart view, and you have schedule view. So this is a great place to collaborate and track tasks that are that everybody is collaborating on. The downfall of Planner is that everybody has the exact same rights, and there is no traceability as to what happened. So somebody could delete an item and you wouldn't know it. Somebody could change a due date and you wouldn't know it. So there's a level of trust when you're working in Planner that everybody is, doing what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it, right? So it's not meant to be a very strict structure. It's meant to be a collaborative structure. Okay, so somebody could say, I've got too much and drag everything to Alex's bucket. He'd be stuck with it all. All right, so out in, if I go back to Office 365 and I go to Planner, so if I go to Planner here, this is where that planner lives. It doesn't live in Teams. It's not hosted in Teams. It lives in the Planner Hub. And what I like about the Planner Hub is if I have multiple projects that I'm working on at the same time, in here I have the My Tasks view, where it will show me all of my tasks. Right now they're grouped by progress. So here's everything I haven't started, everything in progress. And you can tell from the green label what the plan it goes to. I can go to group by plan instead. So here are my event plans. Here's the product launch. Here's the market tracking. Or I can group it by due date. So what's late, what's future or overdue, and what the priorities are. So maybe I decide this is important, this one's urgent, and these are across every plan that I'm a part of. So having that one place where I can track all of my tasks, regardless of which group or plan or channel I'm working in, is very helpful, especially if you're assigned a lot of things. All right, so Planner's one of them. If I go to Microsoft Lists, this is where our lists live. So here's my XYZ proposal. I don't see the content planner that I created in the team because it's not here. Okay, it doesn't live here. Let me show you where that one lives. So when you are working, remember I told you when we were in chat, the files live in OneDrive. When you are in Teams, the files live in Teams. Remember this little graphic of all of the what underlies every single team. You get a SharePoint site, you get a stream portal, you get a Power BI workspace, you get a planner board, you get a OneNote notebook. All right, so this is where those Office 365 groups, Teams sits on top of that layer and presents it to you in an easy way, okay? So understanding that, when I go into my files, so if I go into files, I'm going to go in the Market Project team because it's bigger, and go to files, I see all of these files. Notice the channel names: Design, Digital Assets, Web, Go-to-Market Plan, Research Development, Social Media. All right, so if I go out to, if I want to see where the files live, open in SharePoint. And they've got new homepage templates now that I want to play with. So I want to go do that later for sure. All right, so this is here's the document library. Notice this is Documents and Design. If I back out one level, either by clicking the documents on the left or in the breadcrumb at the top, here's Design, Digital Assets Web, General, Go-to-Market. Where did we see those before? We just saw those. Those are channels of the team. So when you create a team, it creates a SharePoint site. And when you create a channel, it creates a folder in the document library that corresponds with that folder. Now, here's my caution to you. Look at all of these files that are sitting out here that we can't see in Teams. So if people are adding, I wish Microsoft would lock this down so that you cannot create folders here. You actually can at the library settings, not allow them to create folders, but then Teams wouldn't be able to create the folders either. So once your structure's there, sometimes people are locking that down so they can't just create whatever folders. Like research and development and product are not files or not channels in the team. So from Teams, we're never going to see these folders. or any of these files. So here's the web hero landing. Oh, that goes in social media. I'm just going to drag that in there. Here's the marketing campaign. Maybe I need to have that in the social media or design assets or whatever. Now, if I go back to Teams, and I'm just going to go up to the social media files, you'll see those files live here now. So understanding that these files don't actually live in Teams, they live in SharePoint. And the other important thing to note is look at how short this list is of what you can do with this file from Teams. I can't see the version history. I can't create workflows around that document. I can't change the permissions on that document. So once we've locked down this campaign, maybe I don't want people editing it anymore. In Teams, everybody can edit anything anytime they want. But if we go back to SharePoint, look at the options that I have for my documents here. A lot more control, a lot more capability, and a lot more management over those documents. So here is my version history if I wanted to see it. Here's manage access. I can change it to read only for everyone, or I can create a Power Automate some kind of workflow around that document if I like. Okay, so just understand your files live in SharePoint, but so do your lists. So if I go here, the OneNote notebook is in the assets library. So there's the notebook that came with the team when it created it, but I can create multiple notebooks if I want to. If I go to the site contents, I'm just going to click the settings tools menu, site contents. Here is didn't I create the list, the content planner? In this one, didn't I? All right. Let me do that again because it got cranky. Maybe it didn't work. I'm just go back to Teams. Social media, content schedule. There's a list. This should have shown up as a list. It's called social media in SharePoint. Interesting. I do this all the time. I promise you there should be another list in here for the content planner. All right, so one of the reasons I want to share that with you is there's still that interconnection with Outlook, but it's not as apparent. This is a calendar list. In Classic View, if you click Connect to Outlook, it will allow you to see this and add events to this calendar in Outlook as well. So here's the Mark8 project team. There's that same events calendar in my Mark8 project team. So I can overlay, add content here, and it synchronizes back. So that interactivity between them all is really helpful. So if you're in here and you're scheduling meetings like project meetings, and you're working on multiple projects, having that one pane of glass to see all of your calendars in one place. Let's say here's a whole bunch of them that have been linked in. I'm going to change that back to work week view, and I'm looking for an empty spot to have a meeting, and I've got 10 projects going on. Here are all of my meetings across all my projects. I'm like, okay, now I see my open spaces where I could schedule a meeting that's not going to conflict. So having all those disconnected calendars aren't helpful. Having them all in one place are another one. All right, so managing your project and scheduling in large groups with teams of people, you're going to do that in Teams. Who needs to work together? What are they working on? And how are they going to get that job done? Okay, so this, I'm not sure why. Oh, I know. I didn't create the list. I created the planner. There we go. Let's do this. I'm going to create a list. I'm going to use the content scheduler, which I actually use in my own business with my daughter. She's my social media person. social posts and click create. I confused myself because I named my planner content schedule. All right, so here are my all of the tasks I need to get done. And let's go back. Let me prove it to you in SharePoint. Go back to site contents, and you'll see now the list. Here's the list that has the social posts. So I can put this, I can manage this from here. I can manage it from lists, and I can manage it from Teams. This all depends on where I'm already at. I don't have to switch to another platform. If I'm already in Teams, I can do it from here. If I want more capability or customize this, this is something that you might want to customize. You can't really do it. It is not as apparent in Teams as it is in here, just like all of the documentation capability isn't as obvious in Teams as it is in the SharePoint side. So all that stuff doesn't live in Teams. What I like that they finally have added this to indicate this is a Teams connected site. There's a little icon on the title now that has the Teams icon. Click that and it'll take you to the web version of Teams, or it'll prompt you to go to the desktop version. So now I'm back in Teams on that same channel. All right, so managing small projects. If it's personal, you're going to do it in OneDrive and Outlook and To Do. If it is with peers, then you're going to use chat groups. And if you need a more formal structure, you're going to use Microsoft Teams. All right, enterprise projects. This usually involves Project Online, which the task list can be linked to SharePoint. Project, which you can synchronize a SharePoint list to Microsoft Project, and it will update. It synchronizes. It's awesome. And that list lives in SharePoint. So I'm going to show you that real quick, just so you can see. Again, we're not working on enterprise projects, but if you already have it in your environment and you need to use that, let me go back to the SharePoint site. I know I'm short on time here real quick. Go back to this. I'm going to create a task list. So I'm going to add an app. And they've changed this again. Thank you, Microsoft. There's a hidden link right here. This is a classic experience now that lets you add the task list. So I'm going to add tasks. Call these project tasks. Click create. And a SharePoint task list will, this one comes up in classic view. If it doesn't, you can switch it. There's usually a link right here. It says view it in classic view. If I go to the list and connect to Outlook or open with project, then I can use either one of those. So if I go to connect to Outlook, say yes. Now in my tasks view, so here's my mail, here's my calendar, here's my tasks, right? Here's my to-do list and those other ones we saw earlier. If I add a new task to this and say, I'm going to assign this to Miriam. Let's do Miriam from here. And I need her to create the graphics. I want her to start it today and be done by next week and make it a high priority. All right, so I'm going to click Save and Close. Oh. All right, so we have that list here. I'm just going to do, this uses the send and receive from Outlook to communicate, so I'm just going to just push that to make sure it goes. Then when I go back out to here, refresh, here's those project tasks. So these are synchronized. And each person that uses this list can update their content from Outlook, and it synchronizes back too. So this is great for project managers that don't want people in their project file, but they do want to have people be able to update their tasks themselves. And then the project manager, when they're ready, they can go and open it with project to do the dependencies and the leads and the lags and that. So if you need a little more structure on that, this is an option. SharePoint task lists are also built in. All right, we're about the end of time, and I want to respect the next speaker. Do you have any other questions? or if you don't, feel free to reach out to me on social media. I do have a blog. It's Shortcut Shari's Tips and Tricks. And I'm happy to connect with you later at some point if you have any other questions. But
Shari, there are from this gentleman a few questions. First of all, Adil, right? Muhammad Adil. Yeah, he is basically worried about the cost of spending this, buying this enterprise storage. So probably this will let everyone know how you actually look into these questions.
Okay, so the enterprise storage, everything we're talking about now is included in your Office 365 subscription. So in each person has a terabyte of storage in their OneDrive. The SharePoint storage is based on whatever your administrator has decided what the volume of your SharePoint site, and you may have a limit, but they can expand that site by site, and usually it's 50 gigabytes. So you can, it's already included in your, everything I've shown you is included in your Office 365 subscription, except for Project Online and Microsoft Project. That's a different licensing level. It's an add-on that you have to create. So hopefully that helps.
I believe his question is, when the enterprise storage over usage already, how should they do it? Besides buying the additional storage to add on to SharePoint Online, what else can they do it? Can they move their these kind of Teams files that are already established to somewhere else to leave some space out, and some advice maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, Teams for me is work in progress, and it has the SharePoint site assigned to it. My recommendation when I'm advising my clients is that they have an authoring layer, a publication layer, and a retention layer. And the authoring layer happens in Teams and OneDrive and SharePoint. So that's where the work is created. And then after something's finalized, if other people need to find it, you're going to put it in a SharePoint communication site. Now, keeping in mind, every SharePoint site can have more than one document library. That is a huge misconception. People try and dump everything in that one document library. No, create other document libraries. When things are read-only or they're completed, move them out of that work in progress document library that's the default. Create another one where either in that site, if nobody else needs to see it, or I put it in a communication site where, let's say it's the employee manual or the employee or process procedure that people need. I don't want them in my team. I'm going to put it in a communication site in a library that they have that read-only access to that document. Now, eventually that document becomes outdated, and sometimes it needs to be kept for legal or archival reasons for your company. I create another SharePoint site that only the documentation that has to be retained, and it's a archive center. So moving that document through its workflow, that's my presentation for the M365 Admin Day for Minnesota. That's on November, I want to say 15th or 18th, something like that. That's what my presentation is going to be on. So it's managing that document through its life cycle, and I highly recommend it. Once it's done, you don't need to have 2,000 documents in your Teams library once that content has been completed, right? So does that help at all?
I think yes, definitely. Yeah, this is a structured way of managing the site, right, and all this work. And then Aziz has one more question. He is asking, can I set up multiple notifications for Outlook meeting invitations?
Multiple notifications? Oh, like a series of notifications?
I believe so. Aziz, is this answer you? Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what I would encourage you to do is have use Power Automate and use the categories and flags. So Power Automate will allow you to do that. It'll let you, send out this message and then delay and then send out, but it needs something to trigger that. So you would have to create like a category or a combination of a category and a flag that would indicate these are the ones that you want that workflow to run on. That's the only way, kind of like those, we send them out when we have events. It's like, you have an appointment coming up in 3 days. You have a class coming up tomorrow. Don't forget our class is starting in an hour, because people forget. They get busy and they forget. So I get what you're saying, but yeah, there's no built-in, but you can use Power Automate to do that.
All right, that's good. Okay, yeah, Shari, just now from the beginning of your presentation, you were actually showing one link. I think I missed it to copy over to the chat. Do you mind to to copy over to this audio request?
Oh,
I was actually asking about this link shared by you.
These ones, like how to get in touch with me?
I believe so. Adil, is this your questions, or you are asking about the LinkedIn demo that Shari have?
Here's my blog, and the links to everything is on the main blog page. They're on the right-hand side. My YouTube channel, my Facebook, everything is there. So feel free to, that from my website, that's just the easiest one because everything's in one place.
All right, that's all.
Great. And then
Yes.
in my LinkedIn Learning, I do have a managing small projects, but it hasn't been updated in a couple of years. And so there's like the teams or not, but I am actually, email me and let me know you want to know. I am creating private courses in my training platform that people can subscribe to. So if you're interested in that, I'm happy to keep you up to date. We're developing those, and basically I'm converting many of my presentations into courses because of the same question that you guys, like, this happened in 45 minutes, how am I going to remember all this? Totally get that, right? But happy to share those with you.
All right, thank you. So are there any more questions from the audience?
Yeah,
we are about time. Yeah, Shari, do you have any things else to share, or maybe you want to give a tagline or some mission for them to look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. Go out to my blog. Somebody's asking for the YouTube channel. There's a link on the blog page to the YouTube channel. Takes you right there, and yeah, feel free to subscribe. I'm finding out how important that is, that people subscribe and like and all of that for that. But that's awesome. But yeah, any follow up, feel free to reach out to me, I guess is the best way to go about that. Because I struggle coming up with blog posts because I need questions like real world. Tell me what your real world problem is, and that's how I get inspired by them. So
right.
feel free.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah. It will be great that we have a sessions that we actually give everyone a chance to bring up their scenario so that we can actually show them how we do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And don't forget to do your quiz. And there's the little scam. We'll leave that there until the next speaker starts. But don't forget to do your quiz and win the prizes. That's awesome. I think that's a great way to.
Yeah, the quiz will be end until tonight, right? So please join, and I will take these. Okay, so yes, here is the form, right? So thank you very much, Shari.
Thank you.